Ladies and gentlemen, please keep your hands and feet inside the vehicle at all times and make sure to buckle up because these next 6 weeks or so are going to get a bit crazy on the recruiting side of things.
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast and on YouTube. Today's episode of Locked On Gators is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more as playoffs wind down. The sports stop sporting like we want them to, but luckily for now, we've still got Euros and Copa America. But this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. Yeah, daily. There's something for everyone every day all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com/locked-on to get started. And like I said, we're probably going to get a bit wild here with recruiting. It's just that time. Summer is wild, especially for the Florida Gators under Billy Napier. Recruiting has been insane during the summer. Whether it's good or bad, it's just all the targets that Florida tends to target on the trail. They tend to announce their commitments. And today we're going to talk about quite a lot of guys, right? Even then, we ain't even close to done talking about all of the kids that are going to be committing to Florida or elsewhere while being targeted by Florida. Actual over Florida, Hayes. Actual over Florida. You see how it goes out? I'll just go, over Florida. Any kid that commits elsewhere. Just want to throw that one out. I just want to throw that one out there because I feel like there's some sort of miscommunication there. I don't know what it is. But the first guy that we're talking about is Joshua Moore. And we're talking about Joshua Moore because he was originally supposed to commit today. Now that's being pushed to tomorrow. Don't really have a time yet. I was told it's going to be in the afternoon. That's kind of vague. Because afternoon could be 1 p.m., could be 5 p.m. And you could be like, I still count that as the afternoon. Sun's still out, summer, right? So it could be there. I will say this. I got a text on was it Sunday night or Monday morning? I'll pull it up. I don't care. I'm not going to say who it was from, but Sunday night, 8:33 p.m. So if you're watching, you know who you are. It said Joshua Moore, Florida State and Florida battle. And there's going to be a few guys that we talk about here where Florida State, Florida, they could be getting into a situation where it's like bag for bag, band for band kind of thing. Just saying that could be a situation there. I will also say this. I think Joshua Moore will be a Florida Gator. And look, I've been wrong before. I'll be wrong again. But for me, I think the biggest indicator that makes me think Joshua Moore will be a Florida Gator is that Joshua Moore was supposed to visit Florida State this past weekend. He's supposed to take his official visit to Florida State this past weekend. Florida told him, yeah, we don't want you to do that. And he didn't. I don't know, man. Typically, I don't let people who shouldn't dictate what I do. And so I feel like here, the school that you're leaning towards, the school that you're planning on committing, I feel like that's a good sign there. Like a school says, hey, we don't want you to go there. And you go, I don't want to upset that school. And I'm going to upset one of these schools. You chose which one to upset. I feel like that's a decent sign there that I think Florida should win. And I think that you can start a little ripple effect at receiver here. Because right now, we've said this whole time, Florida wants to take 4 wide receivers in the 2025 recruiting class. That's always been the number we've been at. And the number can change, but for receiver, it hasn't. Okay? So you look at receiver for the Florida Gators. And in recent days, it seems that Florida has picked up heavy momentum and is reportedly trending for Joshua Moore, who, again, commits tomorrow, Vernell Brown III, who is planning on committing in the summer. That's all we know. Probably going to be within a couple of weeks. Nayshawn Montgomery, who, again, we plan on seeing a summer commitment here. All trending for those three guys as thought of as favorites for them at this point, right? Trending for all of those. Donovan Olugbade is another one at IMG Academy from Chicago. Let's say you get all four of them. Personally, I'm not as sold on Olugbade as other places are, but I think it's On3 and 24/7 both have Florida as the favorites right now for him. So could be that. By saying I'm not sold on him, I don't mean I'm not sold on him. I'm not sold on the idea that he's going to be a Gator. But let's play the hypothetical game. You get all four of them, right? If you get all four, do you then? And I'm not counting Caleb Cunningham. I'm just saying I've said for a long time I think he's Auburn bound. I don't care that now it's Alabama. It's still, to me, I think it's going to be Auburn. But let's say you get all four of those guys. Do you just not take Kobe Howard and CJ Ingram? We've talked about Kobe Howard before with Brian Smith, even last week or maybe 2 weeks ago, where he's like, yeah, no, Kobe Howard's damn good. I would take Kobe Howard over a couple of these guys that we are talking about. So I feel like you got that. I will say this. I do think Kobe Howard is good enough which right now, actually, before I even say that, I think Kobe Howard would be a Florida Gator right now if he had the committable offer. I don't think he does. Similar to Bryce Fitzgerald, I thought he'd be a Miami Hurricane by now if he had a committable offer, but I don't think he does. That's how I feel about Kobe Howard and the Florida Gators. I think he wants to be a Gator. I don't know if he has a committable offer right now. Okay? I personally would say I think Kobe Howard is good enough where even if you do have four receivers, you go cherry on top. And if you have three, you take him as your fourth. Totally fine with that. But what about CJ Ingram? CJ Ingram and Q, one of the insiders, who the link is in the description below if you want to join the insider program. Q brought up the question of what about these guys? You know, what's going on with them and who do you think we have? And I was explaining that CJ Ingram is hard to project for me because I don't personally, I don't know how much he'll be able to contribute at the SEC level on the football field. I think on the basketball court, he can be a good addition, but would he go to a school that says, hey, you're not a take on the football team, but basketball, yeah. Is he committed to playing both? I don't know, but right now, like Joshua Moore can be a bit of a domino effect here because there's still receivers out there. And so at every position, you go, hey, we have this many guys that we want to take and that we're willing to have as commitments if they commit or if they want to commit, right? You go, all right, well, do we take these guys? Because again, Kobe Howard, CJ Ingram, like Joshua Moore could start that domino effect of maybe Vernell Brown III goes, all right, I'm ready to make my decision. I want to get into class. Nashawn Montgomery, I want to make my decision. I want to get into class. By the way, Kobe Howard and Nashawn Montgomery and Tayshawn Gelsey have been the main three guys that I think to this point, the only three guys that I've put in our predictions for, whatever we want to call them, our predictions for with the insiders, as I think they're going to be Gators. My stance on Kobe Howard has not changed. I would still take him, but I think right now, I don't believe he has a committable offer. And that's just me speculating that I don't think he has a committable offer because I think he'd be a Gator by now if he did. And so since he's not, that's my logic behind it at least. But don't worry, it's not just receiver. There's going to be a lot, and I mean a lot of movement defensively as well. I love sports. I love them so much that I never want them to stop. But as playoffs wind down, RIP NBA Finals, Celtics, we get fewer games, and the sports just aren't sporting like they used to or like I want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app and dream up bets at any time. Anytime. And this summer, FanDuel's hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. And I don't mean, it's not even just one. I'll tell you now. The script says, say, a boost or bonus. They've been dropping like 4 a day. Every time I open the app, I'm like, yep, I'll take those. Even when I lose them, I'll take them. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com/lockedon and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel is the official sportsbook betting partner of Major League Baseball. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. Every day, we are available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast and on YouTube. And like I said, defense is going to be a bit wild as well. We're going to start with Hilton Stubbs because Hilton Stubbs is someone that I've said before, and I will continue to say, if the Florida Gators, if you win some football games early in the year, you're going to flip Hilton Stubbs. I think that there's quite a few players out there that even might commit elsewhere, and they're going to go, you win some games, I'm sold. I think Hilton Stubbs is one of those. And even in the past week or so, we've heard murmurs that Hilton Stubbs might not even take that long to decommit from USC. I'm not saying he's going to commit to Florida then, but to decommit from USC because they've lost two, I believe, 5-star players. I know at least one of them was a 5-star, but I believe 2 5-star players that they've lost in the past week. Kids are jumping ship. Hilton Stubbs might be one of those kids. Like I've said since the day he committed, I am not convinced that a kid from Florida committing to USC is going to stick with his commitment as long as he's been committed, just because it's a really long time to keep that long distance relationship going. All right. I've done the long distance thing. Okay. It ain't easy. It ain't easy. It's college. I don't care what 24/7's Miami guys say about it, where they go, hey, it was Miami that's trending. And then they go, never mind, it's not Miami that's trending. Whatever nonsense that was. It was one of the funniest things to read of just guys going, yeah, I'm here in Miami. Never mind. Like they did the Steve Harvey, like they're reading the wrong winner of Miss America with who they think Hilton Stubbs is going to flip to. I confidently think he's going to be a Gator. If he's not a USC Trojan, I'm pretty confident Hilton Stubbs is going to be a Florida Gator. And I don't care who says what. Right now, that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at with Hilton Stubbs. Okay? If he's not a USC Trojan, I'm pretty confident he's going to be a Florida Gator. Then we look to linebacker Tavion Wallace, who has a commitment date set for July 2nd. He's expected to stick with that commitment date. So today, on June 25th, we are exactly 1 week away from that commitment for Tavion Wallace. He took his official visit to Florida on June 14th. June 21st, so this past weekend, he took his official visit to Florida State in Tallahassee. And no official visit the weekend of the 28th, which, by the way, I do like that approach because he's essentially going, I'm going to have my final official visit on June 21st, or at least the plan is final official visit on June 21st. Then I'm going to take my time, make my decision, and commit July 2nd. And that's the stance. And I love that approach, genuinely, of going, I took all the OVs. I've seen what I need to see. Here's where I'm at. And I want to make this clear. Whether he commits to Florida or not, this is not a recruitment that's going to, these coaches are not going to back off of him. Any coach isn't going to back off him. He's a hell of a linebacker. Okay? I'll also say this. Georgia, to my knowledge, still thinks they have a pretty decent chance. And you never count Kirby Smart out, right? Especially with how many guys they get into the NFL and how modern the defensive scheme is. You never count those guys out. But I am fairly confident that we're talking about a Florida State battle right now. And look, this is the year where apparently we're going to see a lot of Florida State battles. It's what both these schools are going after elite players. That's what they're going to do. You're going to, when you're trying to build a program and you're going after elite players, you're going to run into other programs trying to add elite players. Crazy how that works out. And I will say this, I've said this for a while. I said this before he went to his official visit to Florida. And I said this now. I still think he's a Florida State committed right now. I think Tavion Wallace might be another one of those players where you go, hey, Florida, you win some games and we can have a conversation. But until then. Like this is one of those things where Florida's biggest negative recruitment has been that they haven't won games. And you can't rebuttal to that until you win some games. So I think Hilton Stubbs, Tavian Wallace are guys. I'm more confident on Hilton Stubbs, where if you win some games, you get him. I'm somewhat confident that Florida, if you win some games and you keep recruiting Tavian the way you're recruiting him, I think you can make it happen. Lagonza Hayward, another safety that we're going to talk about here, committing July 27th. I was told for maybe 3 to 4 weeks before the official visit to Gainesville that this was likely going to come down to Georgia or South Carolina. Again, this was 3 to 4 weeks. He was on campus in Gainesville, I believe June 14th weekend. And I was told a few weeks before that, hey, it's probably going to come down to Georgia, South Carolina. Then Florida knocked it out of the freaking park when he was in Gainesville for his official visit. Okay? Like Florida killed this visit so much that there was actual genuine buzz that he might commit to Florida right then and there when he was on campus. That's the kind of recruiting visit that we were talking about. Okay? I want to make that clear. Like Florida demolished this official visit with Georgia or with Lagonza Hayward when the leading teams were Georgia and South Carolina. He visited Tennessee this past weekend. I still think that this is Florida in first and then Georgia and South Carolina rounding out the top three. I don't have an order for them. I just think Florida's number one. I don't care who's number two and who's number three, as long as Florida's number one. I will say this, though. It is June 25th. He is committing on July 27th, which means we've got over a month before he actually makes that decision. And so while Florida has the lead or seemingly has the lead right now, a month is a long time for any team to take the lead or for Florida to solidify themselves as the leader here. Again, right now, Lagonza Hayward, I'm leaning Florida. And if he was committing today, I'd say Florida. But again, it remains the fact that we are not talking about someone who's committing today. We're talking about someone who's committing in a month, and a lot can change in a month. Florida could have 9, 10, 12 commits by then. A lot can change in a month, okay? And Lagonza Hayward could be in addition to that on July 27th. But also, like I know we've talked about receiver. We talked about the back seven, really, I guess, with one linebacker and two safeties. There's going to be a lot on defense. Offense is an area where Florida's getting into a lot of battles and potential flip battles as well. Passion, drive, and patience. That is the formula for winning championships. And it's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors is everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance with superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered with over 122 million parts to choose from for your number one ride or die. You'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber and not cash for all the parts you need at the prices you want. It's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply, and eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. Every day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast and on YouTube. First guy that we have to talk about when we go, it's a flip battle. It's an offensive player. It's a premium position. It's an in-state battle here. Quarterback Tramel Jones. And quarterback Tramel Jones is someone that he's been the guy even before Keelan Russell committed to Alabama or flipped to Alabama. Even before Antoine Hill committed to Memphis. Before anything, I've been saying if the Florida Gators go out and land a kid in the 2025 class I think it's Tramel Jones. He's been the one where I haven't gotten upset about Keelan Russell. I haven't gotten upset about Antoine Hill. Because to me, it's been Tramel Jones as the most realistic option. Not the guy that I'm like, oh, he's QB1 in the class. Got to get him. No. But he's the one that, to me, I go, if Florida's adding a QB in 2025, I think it's Tramel Jones. That's been the case here. And look, he's expected to make a decision within the next week of, is he going to be a Florida Gator or a Florida State Seminole? Currently a Florida State Seminole commit. But again, I mean, with the amount of times that he's visited Florida unofficially, gone for practices, gone for camps, whatever it is, you have to realize that this is genuinely an open competition right now. And reports came out in the past couple of days that, hey, Tramel Jones, Florida State's up the bag for him. Florida State's solidifying their spots with him, whatever that may be. Maybe. Personally, if I'm Florida, I don't want to sound like a D-bag when I say this, but I'm not getting into a bidding war for a 2025 QB. Any 2025 QB, if I'm confident in DJ Lagway and Will Griffin. I'm just not getting into a bidding war for that because I feel like I'm pretty set there, right? And the portal exists. If you're getting into bidding wars, just go to the portal when you have 2 blue chip elite quarterbacks in the next 3 seasons. As in 2024 class, 2025 class, 2026 class. Just go with that, right? And Tramel Jones last week was at the Elite 11 finals. And I got to say this. I have a friend that was covering the event there that is not into recruiting. So he's not with any of the recruiting sites where he has to say, oh, yeah, like we were right having him as a 3-star or whatever it is. So he's not there. And he's not a college football media member. So he has no ties to Florida, Florida State, Miami, anything. No ties to any of those. Okay? He was at the event. And if you're part of the insider program, you got this text when I got this text. And I got this text on, let me see, where are we at? Thursday last week. So June 20th. I got the text, and the text is, clear my throat here. He's effing sick, period. 3-star status is bull. You know what? Period. That's the text. Just saying. That's where we fall on Tramel Jones. He impressed. I don't care what rankings people gave him. I trust this person's opinion more than I trust any of their opinions that were there. Okay, so just saying that. So again, if Tramel Jones if Florida's landing a quarterback, I think it's going to be Tramel Jones in 2025. To understand another Florida State commit, Solomon Thomas, offensive lineman. This is a weird one because I feel like we haven't really seen much, but we keep hearing about Florida's in the lead. And he's back to Florida State. Florida's in the lead. He's back to Florida State. It's felt like both teams have had the lead here, and it's been very back and forth, but we haven't necessarily seen that so much. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just wrong in saying that, but I feel like we haven't seen that happen too many times. Like he's visited Florida, but not an excessive amount. He's visited Florida State, not an excessive amount. He's visited LSU, Miami. He's visited all the schools. And none of them have gotten like the overwhelming number of visits. From what I've heard with Solomon Thomas specifically, similar to talking about other players involved in Florida State, it's bidding war time. Like, again, like I mentioned earlier in the show, we're going bag for bag, band for band. That's how it's going with this. The rumor is with Solomon Thomas here. And I'm not saying he's going to whoever gives him the most money. What I am saying, or maybe he is going, let me phrase this properly. Okay. I think it is possible he's going to whoever gives him the most money out of Florida and Florida State. I don't think he's going to LSU. I said that when he took the last visit there. I was like, I don't think it's happening. I think that he might be going to the school that gives him the most money out of those two schools, out of Florida and Florida State, because he's narrowed down his list of the schools he wants to go to. Again, in my mind, this sounds working. He's narrowed down the list of schools he wants to go to, and now he feels relatively the same about both of them. He's like, oh, I absolutely love both of these programs. I'm very happy to be part of either one of them. You're going to go, whoever pays me more, I'll be happy with either program. So give me money, right? If I'm Florida, I'm matching. I'm matching. I'm bidding. I'm getting into this bidding war. I'm not doing it for Trammell. I'm not confident I would do it for the receivers, some of them. But for Solomon Thomas, I'm doing it. Okay, like Florida. At some point, it's year 3. At some point, you need to land elite offensive linemen. And you've done it with a couple of guys, Rod Kearney, Fletcher Westphal. You need to do it more consistently, and you've whiffed consistently. I will say, I do feel like offensive linemen, a lot are guys that they end up being bidding wars because the position's so important. Like the group is so important. Also, I know that we've heard with Zaire Addison, apparently Florida backed off of him prior to the commitment to Oregon because of some character thing. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know him. That's just what we heard. But again, that's okay. You were really in it for 2 or 3 blue chip offensive linemen. That's one of them. You pulled yourself out of it reportedly. You thinned the herd that you could have brought in. Gotta land some of these kids. Tight end Hollis Davidson is the last player that we're going to talk about today. I will say this. He took an official visit to Florida. I believe he was here June 7th weekend, so earlier in the month. Since then, he visited Auburn on the 14th, and he visited Florida State on the 21st. My take, my guess, my prediction, whatever you want to call it, I think he winds up at Auburn again. I think that, go back to the 2024 class for Florida, Mekhi Boyroe, defensive lineman, right? He committed to Florida, then decommitted. And the decommitment reason was simply, feel like I made a decision too early. I don't want to have made a decision. I'm going to decommit and keep the door open. Then he ended up coming back to Florida. Like he ended up committing to Florida again when he was ready to make that decision. So I think with Hollis Davidson, this was simply a case of kid committed to a team, to a school, in this case Auburn. Then he was like, you know what? I wish I didn't do that. And so he decommitted from Auburn. And I do think that he will eventually wind up back there. I think Auburn's in the lead. I think Florida might not have him as a take at this point, especially because Tayshawn Gelsey is expected to commit soon, within the next week or so. I think he said July 4th weekend. And I think Tayshawn Gelsey is the most likely tight end to join the Florida Gators class. I thought Tayshawn Gelsey is more likely than Micah Jones. So I think that Florida at tight end might be all, even if it's silently, filled up at the position. So I don't think Hollis Davidson will be a Florida Gator commit. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day, every day. We are available daily and free, wherever this is in the podcast and on YouTube. For Locked On Gators, I'm Brandon Olsen. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work with Giants Country and NFL 33, and I'll see you all next time.